projects.
Good. And John's got a nice super graphic, or what is that? That's beautiful there. Figure ground. I've been seeing your beautiful thing back there for a while.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So one item today, right? Wow. Should be pretty-
Yeah.
Are live on YouTube now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening. This is the Design Review Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. Our first item on the agenda is roll call. I'm the chair, Glenn Cass. Can I go through Armin?
Here.
Eugene,
Here.
John,
Here.
and Kristen will be absent. Second item is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda or any modifications to it?
Move to adopt?
Thank you,
Second.
John. Seconded by Eugene. Go through roll call. Armin,
Aye.
Eugene,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and Glenn, aye. Next item is public comments, items that are not on the upcoming agenda and under the purview of this commission. Do we have any raised hands or star nines, Nancy?
No, nothing for beyond what's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Item 4 is the consent calendar. I'm going to break it into two parts. Eugene was absent. We're approving a draft minutes of the meeting for March 24th. So Eugene was absent from that. Do I have a motion to adopt or any corrections?
No corrections. I move to adopt the meeting minutes as they are.
Thank you, John. Second.
And I second.
Thank you,
I second.
Armin. Let's go through roll call then. Armin,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and Glenn, aye. And Eugene abstains.
Yes.
The next item is Golden Gate Sign Company. This is a continuance for the item to May 26, 2021. Do we have a motion to adopt this consent item?
So
I
moved.
move to adopt.
Oh, I'll second it.
Thank you. We'll go through roll call then. Armin,
Aye.
Eugene,
Aye.
John, and Glenn is aye. Okay, next is the main item for tonight. Number 5, a study session. This is for our parcel on Los Erebus. This is for a 2-story single-family residence, and Nancy will be presenting the staff report.
Let me just share my screen. Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Nancy Tran, Planning Department staff. The item before you is study session 0421 Delamar for development on a vacant, unaddressed parcel near the terminus of Los Erebus Drive, just south of Camellia Lane on the western boundary of the city. The lot is about 1.5 acres, zoned R20 and within the Hillside Overlay District. The project proposes an approximately 3,400 square foot single family residence accessed by a driveway which is proposed on the northeastern end of the parcel, with the structure proposed just south. 3 levels, including a garage stepping up with the upsloping topography, is proposed from east to west. After a cursory review of the preliminary plans, the project will likely require phase 1 and 2 hillside development approval, design review, grading and tree permits, and possibly a variance for the height, depending on the dimensional information on whether the garage is considered a story. Since this is a study session for feedback on the preliminary design, no formal action is required. That concludes my presentation. And I will promote the applicant team to the meeting.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff from the commission? Okay, let's move on to the applicant then.
So we have Donna Chivers, which is an architect, and Joe McGovern.
Do you want me to, am I speaking now?
Yes.
All right, so thank you, Nancy. I appreciate the overview of the project. And this is actually the first time I've done a study session. We are proposing a tri-level new home, modern style garage on the lower level, main living area, and then a master suite on top. We've designed the way that it sits on the site. We've designed so that the foundation can step up the hill, try to minimize the grading, and really kind of sits back and follows the line of the grade. We've also set it up on the hill high enough to try to take advantage of the view, but not too high where we're not having a nice driveway or, you know, kind of a more than a 20% grade up into the garage. I'm curious to know, Nancy, you mentioned possibly requiring a variance for height. What would trigger that?
So in this zoning district, only a height of 35 feet or 2.5 stories is allowed.
2.5 stories. So you would have to consider the garage to be a story, even though it's not fully underneath the mezzanine level.
It may be possible, but more dimensional information is required. And
So what kind of dimensional information is required?
I can send you the code section. It's section 6354.
Okay. Okay. Jill, did you have anything to add? And you need to take yourself off of mute, so we can't hear you. There you go.
Am I unmuted now? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm using a borrowed computer here. It's a very steep site, and so we were trying to minimize the grading, take advantage of the slope, and that's why we stepped things back. If we had just stacked on top, I think it would have had a much more massive appearance. And putting the garage where we did, that was kind of our starting point, working from the road, what we could do as far as gaining height to get to the driveway, and then putting the garage at that point and working backwards from there. I get that, you know, 2.5 stories. We don't really have a spot where there are 3 stories directly stacked anywhere. We do step back as we go up the hill. So it's multi-level. I wouldn't necessarily call it 3-story in that regard. But if you think you could support, if the wording of the section is such that we would have to go through a variance, I guess that's what we're asking for direction on. When you ask for more dimensional information, would you like to see parallel heights to the contours, more heights from bottom to top? What sort of information are you looking for?
I can provide that when you submit your application.
Okay, well, I guess the point of this is to try and make sure that we have things in the best format possible before we get into a full application. And we don't want to end up having to go backwards, and we'd like to continue to move forward, covering all of our bases and meeting all your requirements at the same time.
Okay.
Donna, you familiar with that section she referred to?
I am not, but I could look it up quite quickly. Let's see. So is it in the Lafayette Muni Code, or is it in the county building code?
It's in the Lafayette Muni Code, but I can basically summarize it for you. It's basically the ratio of the length of the perimeter of the floor above, anything that's 6 feet or more in height, or if that floor above is 12 feet in height.
So when you refer to the floor above, does that mean that they're overlapping? Because as Jill pointed out, we don't have any overlapping. So it's like a, you really only have one wall that's stacked on top of each other. There's no living area that's overlapping. So they're really three independent, I mean, it's like three independent sections, but stacked up the hill. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I think we're really trying to, as Jill mentioned, we don't want to, because in order to submit for Lafayette Hillside Development Overlay Review, it's very involved. We really have to have the entire house designed with building sections and really kind of know what we're going after. We also have to support with landscape design and also grading and drainage. So that's, very involved and very expensive to go through, not knowing, if we're going to have to go after a variance or not. So we'd really kind of like to nail it down and understand the parameters for that before we submit.
Okay, I can reach out to you separately on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That would be
Okay,
appreciated.
so do
That's
you have
appreciated,
any other
definitely.
presentation, or should we move on to questions of the applicant by commissioners? No questions? Do we want to open it to public comments?
I think John Gray has a
Oh,
question.
John?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner question before public comment, Chair Cass?
Yes.
I do have a question for the applicant. In looking at the preliminary drawings, I don't believe I see your intent on trees to be saved or if any are proposed to be removed. Do you have the site plan? I don't think shows that. My question is, is there any place I can see that in your current submission, your preliminary work?
The house is located in a place that has very few trees. It's fairly cleared already. There's a couple of areas that there are some fallen trees. The tree survey on this it's very tiny. We apologize for that. It's sheet A1, but where we're planning to put the house, there are very, very few, if any, trees directly in that location.
Okay, I'm zoomed in on that on my other screen. And does the driveway require the removal of trees at all?
There are some trees right on the edge of the pavement that we might want to take out just because they don't look to be all that healthy. And going up the driveway is mostly just brush in that area. Most of the trees are located right along the street there.
Mhm.
But we can,
Okay, well, when at your next iteration of this drawing, I mean, we'll get into more comments, but just we'd like you to make clear your intent regarding tree removal.
certainly, we
Yeah.
can do.
No problem.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
Thank you, John. Any other questions from commissioners? Do we have anyone from the public that's interested in speaking tonight, Nancy?
No, there are none.
Okay, let's move on to, there's no need for rebuttal. So let's move on to commissioners' review. Who wants to begin this evening's comments? John,
Sure.
want to keep on going?
Sure. Okay. Just to start, I appreciate your general approach to stepping up the hill. I think the composition of the massing and the general size of the house, at first blush, I would say is compatible with the surroundings. So that's a positive. My question regarding the trees has to do with the fact that as you rise up the slope of that property, the house could start to become strongly in view of your neighbors across the valley on the opposite hill. And so it would be my hope that you maintain the existing trees to the extent, to a high extent, on the lower portion of the site to partially screen the house so that maybe you're able to have framed views, because you certainly want to take advantage of that. But at the same time, a partial screening to soften the appearance of the house from your neighbors across the valley. It would be a positive thing. And some of the trees on the site look very nice. I mean, I did visit the site, and there are some, you know, good healthy oaks that it would be great to preserve and incorporate into your landscape approach. Regarding things that we'd like to see when you come back to us with a more formal presentation, in order to understand context, I especially like to see site sections all the way to your neighboring houses. So cross section that goes up the hill all the way to the house at your rear property yard, and then a transverse to show your neighbors to the left and right. And if they're, and even you might as well have your cross section show across the street. I know the house across the street from you is very, very low down, and I don't think they could see you at all. But that kind of context, I think, helps the commissioners understand the relationship with the neighbors. I can tell you that having reviewed enough of the houses that are on roads like yours, neighbors will likely want to understand your construction logistics plan. With a narrow road that with a dead end, neighbors are going to be very concerned that nothing in construction could block their access in a way that could compromise their safety. So construction will need to be accommodated entirely on your private property. And it will be reasonable that your neighbors and us in the city will want to see how you plan to accomplish that. And then finally, just to reiterate on your earlier question, I appreciate Nancy's offer to confer with you on the particulars of understanding the height regulations in our code. And I do think that would be best accomplished in a separate follow-up. So thanks, Nancy, for offering that. I hope that works out for everybody. I think you made a great start, and we look forward to seeing you with further development. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Armin, you want to go next?
I agree with everything John said, and I do have a little bit of concern about the height, and I think the height seems taller than the buildings within that neighborhood, and it might just look a little bit too tall going, given that it's going to go up the hill. And about the information, I appreciate to just get more information for the next round.
Okay, Eugene?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think John and Armin already made good comments. I would like to add sight lines to additional contextual information, meaning like from your window or from the street, how people would be able to see your project, but also you looking out to make sure the privacy view sight lines are all there. I'm pretty sure it is, but we'd like to just see demonstrate additional effort that all the windows and we call like light pollution issues, those are kind of thought through carefully as you impart on your project. Same as John, I'm interested in seeing the relationship with the topography, the entire site section, if possible, and across the street, as John had mentioned. I'm also interested in your windows. You have a lot of windows. I don't know how many window types you have, but I think it's one of telling us and articulating for us in a more cohesive way about your design intent. So we as design review commissions could evaluate and analyze the appropriateness of your approach, because we're not designing, you're designing, your architect is designing, but we also want to offer our comments and observation, particularly the front elevation. It seems like there's a lot of window pattern there, and it could be all fine. Right now it looks flat and two-dimensional look of the facade. So maybe that's why. Other things for me in particular, I am always looking at is the buildings are never seen straight on, and it's not two-dimensional, it's three-dimensional. So we definitely would like to see you give us clear indication how the corners are turned from material changes to volumetric expressions, window pattern, where it folds into the corner to the other side, things of that nature. I see in your current scheme that you have a interesting variegated window pattern on the front. And then when you turn the side, it gets flattened. Of course, it's side elevation, we understand, but people perceive the building from sort of a sight line of an angle. So I'd like to see further demonstration of the massing and the pattern around the corner. I'm one commissioner that is also even looking at details about the flues, vent flues and flue vents. So be careful there. Color material board. We are definitely going to want you to give us, even though it's probably going to be at the beginning when you submit, we'd like to be hand in hand with you as you evolve color material palette. That's it. Thank you. It looks like it's got the right approach, but we need to see more details. Thank you.
Okay, and I concur with most of the comments that you heard so far. I want to reemphasize John's comment about staging within the site. This is going to be important. It comes up quite a bit in the hillside districts about the only access out of Los Erebus is Los Erebus, going back to Upper Happy Valley. So it's going to be important that it not be blocked by large construction vehicles that are dormant or idling for a long period of time. Even though you're near the end of the road, you are not the last people there. So it needs to be safe for everybody. I do have one question for you. I'm trying to figure out what exactly the treatment is over the sliders in the dining room. When I look at the side elevations, I see that there's a canopy over the front door, but I don't know what's happening over the sliders. Can Jill or Donna tell me what that is representing?
We have, I'm sorry, Donna, you want to go ahead?
Nope, go ahead.
We have a roof over there that is supported with some heavy timber knee braces, probably a metal roof to bring in another material, break up that.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I see what you're doing, a little sloped roof there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't really tell by the views that were available. Okay. Yeah, I will be interesting to see the color palette and the landscaping plans. Landscaping plan, drainage will be important on this site because you're basically having to retain the water on the site. And you may want to reach out to the fire district early about whether or not they're going to require a hammerhead or anything on the driveway, because you have a narrower side street there. I'm not sure. When I went out there, I didn't remember seeing a fire hydrant nearby. So I'm not sure what the hydrant situation is and what requirements they might have for you. Otherwise, this is just recommendations at this point in time. It's a study session. There's not going to be any resolution or anything. This is just take our comments and decide what you want to do with them. Any last questions before we move on to the next item?
Actually, I have a raised hand. Dan Hayden doesn't look like he was part of the applicant team. Should I promote him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Hi, this is Julie Heidenveld. I'm the next door neighbor at 4146 Los Erebus. We've never gone through a process like this, and I have no idea how the process actually works. So I know this is just a preliminary planning meeting, and I'm just curious to find out. We've just seen the drawings today. We've just seen everything today. So we're brand new to the whole process. And I just wanted to find out from our perspective, how do we involve ourselves with this to ensure, like you said, privacy, height, what we see, because we are probably the most impacted property from the building that will happen next door.
Well, it will be a public notice to residents within 300, is it 300 feet?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, we're adjacent.
Yeah, so you will get a notice in advance to the formal first hearing that we have if they decide to go beyond the study session. And I suggest that the architect reach out to you if you can stop by and discuss what's going on, that would be beneficial to both parties, I believe.
Sure, that would be great. Because when I just looked at what you guys have online today, the aerial views you have are from the old home that was here previous. We bought this home as a brand new construction just about 4.5, almost 5 years ago. And so it's just a very different scenario and topography than you're looking at potentially if you haven't actually visited the site itself.
Okay, so you're the downhill person?
Not
Neighbor?
down, we're directly north and
North, okay,
yes, north and east.
okay,
So our property lines are going up the northern side of the property,
correct.
northern and eastern, mostly eastern.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, any last items or we'll move on? Okay, thank you, Donna and Jill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's not much continuance. We have no new public hearings. We have, the ARC volunteer is not required according to Sarah for May 14th. So that leaves us with the commissioners' reports. Are there any reports, any items that need to be brought to each other's attention? Now, Nancy, do you happen to know, is our next joint meeting with planning on the 17th?
I'm not sure, but let me double check the calendar. I don't see anything on the calendar, but I will follow up and send an email out.
Yeah, that would be appreciated. It was supposed to be a joint meeting so we can discuss density bonus and some other issues that come up collectively between the two agents or commissions.
Okay.
Okay, so any staff liaison report? So we're going to move on to adjournment. Well, we didn't beat our best 26 minutes instead of 21, but nevertheless, thank you for your time and attention, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you.
Bye, Chair. Good
Okay,
job.
thanks. Bye-bye.